Did you know that people lie under oath all the time? Welcome to the real world. Nitsa, it sounds like you just slipped on a banana peel and, oh, Nitsa! You know, like, oh, honey, I just slipped on a banana peel and I nitsed it, you know, or whatever. Nothing is mandatory. Nothing is required of me. Why are you asking me this? The jury will be glaring at that cop going, is he correct? Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to your favorite show on the internet, Raw Law Unfiltered, with your favorite host on YouTube, the DUI Guy Plus. Today we're going to continue in the saga of the watch a cop get pulverized in court. We are going to pick up with the cross-examination done by yours truly, you guessed it, the DUI guy, of Officer Oliver in Lyon County District Court in February of 2022. Last we left our protagonists, Officer Oliver is still on the stand. Mr. Lee Wilson, the prosecutor, just finished his direct examination. I had one objection if you watch the first two videos in this series, which by the way, they are also in the description below, and they will be at the end cards of this video. We get a chance to watch me work, and I will describe in detail what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, in order for you to understand better what I am doing and why I'm doing it. So let's go right into the dissection, shall we?
Thank you, Your Honor. This time.
Cross-examination.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, what I'm doing here, by the way, some of you who have been a long-time follower of my channel, I'm asking the bailiff to help me bring the podium closer to the cop. Notice, watch the cop. Look at how uncomfortable he's getting because he knows I'm about to get confrontational. He knows that I'm about to do all sorts of naughty things to him, if you catch my drift. I am interested in putting this cop in his place. And if I'm too far away from him physically, he's not going to feel the heat, so to speak. I want that podium as close to his face as I possibly can. Sometimes I will even move the podium between the prosecutor and the police officer, because a lot of times they will sit there and they will, they'll mouth things to their witness. So in order to prevent any of that from happening, I position myself directly in the line of sight. You will see that in some subsequent videos where I actually do that. This courtroom was not really conducive to that purpose because, as you can see, Mr. Wilson is seated right next to the police officer. So it's police officer, Mr. Wilson, and here I am all the way in the back here. In order for me to put the podium between the two of them, I would literally have to squeeze in between the table, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm happy where I am at. But I also don't want to be going to the prosecutor's podium. So that's the podium I don't want to use. Why? Because it's on the prosecutor's side. That's his podium. I got my own podium. And I want my podium as close to and as confrontational with the police officer. That is immediately, I haven't even opened my mouth yet. The police officer, Officer Oliver, is already getting uncomfortable because I'm in his head. He knows I'm coming in with questions. And the fact that I'm not rushing like, I have a question to ask. I need to go ask him. No, I got all the time in the world. Let me get my podium in order. Sometimes I just waste time. I'll sit there with my notes, scroll through just my pieces of paper, shuffle some papers around. Okay, what do I got here? Okay, all right. And then I'll say, Officer Oliver, good afternoon. Just out of the blue, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right? That is a direct psychological tactic to try and get in your victim's head. Because in this case, he is my victim. I am about to disassemble him and what he has done in this case. So before you get there, you gotta let your prey marinate for a little bit,
Officer Oliver, good afternoon.
Right there. See? Take a drink of water. I'm not in a hurry.
I want to talk a little bit about your training. Something
right there. something that hasn't even been really talked about. Usually, like I said, the prosecutor has done such a terrible job setting the foundation. I'm literally about to do his job for him. Now, this will not be universal in all cases. In some cases, you maybe want to avoid the subject of foundation because your police officer is a trained blah, 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 and they've been on the force for 25 years. Maybe those I won't be as excited about. But if I have a cop who's been a police officer for like 3 months, 2 years, sometimes even 5 years, that's not a lot of time to learn the tricks of the trade. And if it helps my client's case, I will absolutely poke and prod and highlight the lack of training, the lack of knowledge, the lack of experience, or sometimes you'll do the complete opposite. When you have a police officer that has 25 years experience, 25 years of training, 25 years on the force in multiple departments, multiple states, maybe they screwed the pooch, they screwed the case up so much, you can use it against them. Bring it out. Talk about, you have been on the force for 25 years. I mean, we were still in the 1990s when you were on the force. Yes, I was. And they'll proudly exclaim, absolutely, I'm very proud of the badge that I've been wearing the last 2.5 decades. And then you highlight, oh, but you didn't do this, and you forgot to do that. And you, what kind of cop are you? And they're like, And that's what you want.
Hasn't really been brought up on direct examination. How many years have you been a police officer?
I started in October of 2007.
October of 2007, so about almost 16 and a half years now?
Close.
Notice how his demeanor changed, by the way. For those of you who have not seen the first 2 videos in this series, I highly encourage you to go back and check it out, because in that video, the police officer was all very happy. He's talking about the slurred speech and, oh, he clearly was intoxicated, talking about my client, and I got him dead to rights. And now all of a sudden, I asked him a very innocuous question. I asked him, how many years have you been on the force? He couldn't even answer. He said since 2007. So I learned immediately in that one question, he's not very good at math. That's okay. I'm not very good at math either sometimes. That's fine. I'm not going to hate on the guy because he can't do the math in his head. It's a stressful situation. He's sitting in a witness stand. He has a lot of things going through his head. What kind of questions is he going to ask me? And then when I ask him, okay, so 16 and a half years on the force. This is a completely innocuous question. Look at his body language. He's like slumping his head a little bit, and he's kind of like, he's very submissive. Whereas when prosecutor was asking him questions, he was very, chin up, shoulders back. He's like very assertive. Oh yes. And then that's what happened. And then that's what happened. And now he's just kind of like shoulders forward, a little head tilt. He's got a little bit more of all of these things are important because these are the things that the jury sees. And the jury, one of their jobs is to assess credibility of witnesses. Because just because a witness is testifying under oath doesn't mean that they're not going to be lying. Surprise! Did you know that people lie under oath all the time? Oh my goodness, be still my heart. Larry, DUI Guy, don't be the first one to tell me those kinds of news, please. That is terrifying. Welcome to the real world. So, watch his body language as I continue pummeling Officer Oliver.
And in 2007, I assume that's when you went through the academy?
It was late 2007, early 2008. I started somewhere in that time. I don't remember exactly my training period before I went, but somewhere in there. Yeah.
Fair enough. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And during that time, you learned how to conduct all sorts of investigations that you would use as tools when you become a police officer, correct?
Correct.
One of those tools is the detection and enforcement for individuals who might be operating a motor vehicle under the influence, right?
Yes.
Now I'm going to the heart of his training. This is a DUI case. This is an operating a motor vehicle under the influence case. So that is where I'm headed with that line of questioning.
And as you probably know, the agency that puts out the book is called the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay. Shorthand, they call it NHTSA, NHTSA. So NHTSA also put...
never, by the way, ever use acronyms without describing what they are. NHTSA, NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration. Because you know what NHTSA is, the judge knows what NHTSA is, the cop knows what NHTSA is, the prosecutor, hopefully, for them, not for you, know what NHTSA is. Your client probably doesn't know what NHTSA is. The jury has no idea what NHTSA means. NHTSA, it sounds like you just slipped on a banana peel and, oh, NHTSA! You know, like, oh, honey, I just slipped on a banana peel and I nitsed it, you know, or whatever. What is NHTSA? National, always explain. That way you show to the jury you are the smartest person in the room. You are the most educated, the most well-versed, the most knowledgeable person in that room, and you will become the authority figure that they will rely upon when they deliberate. And everyone else will hopefully slowly kind of start fading into the background, with you being the star speaker. Because when a police officer testifies, remember, on cross-examination, if you are the defense attorney or representing yourself pro se, God forbid, don't ever do that. Always hire a lawyer. But if you choose to go, if it's like a traffic ticket, like maybe you want to do it on your own, please feel free. You want to be the smartest person in the room, and they are not the one testifying on cross-examination. Here's a little criminal defense attorney secret. They are not the ones testifying. Words are coming out of their mouth, but they're not the ones testifying. You are the one testifying. They are your parrot. They are your puppet. They are the ones who are going to be saying, in a perfect world, the police officer should be saying only one of two words your entire cross-examination. Yes and no. Every single question should be styled. Not a single one should be open-ended, especially ones you don't already know the answer to. Never ask a question you don't already know the answer to on cross-examination, because that is how you set yourself up for failure. So if the officer is saying yes, yes, no, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and then you sit down and that was your entire cross-examination, you did your job perfectly, counselor.
Puts out several follow-up trainings. Have you completed any of those since 2007 with regards to DUI detection and enforcement? Any refresher courses?
So notice what I did there. I literally just violated my own rule. I asked him, did you complete any refresher courses? I already know the answer to that. And I believe what your answer is, you're about to find out, is the answer is no. Because if I had already known you completed, I would have asked him, and you completed a refresher course on such and such date, and then you did a refresher course on such and such date. The reason I'm pointing that out is because in 16 and a half years, he is removed from the academy since 2007. This is now 2022 at the time of the recording of this video when we were in trial. And I'm trying to highlight that his memory and his training is a little faded. It's a little bit in the background. It's over here somewhere in the distant memory in the recesses of his mind, so his opinion is not to be trusted.
We do the training with the intoxilizer every 2 years where we certify on that. The only required training that we have is just what we complete there at the training academy.
Now, that was a very sleazy answer because I did not ask him about the intoxilizer, and I did not ask him, are you required to complete any trainings? He offered two answers to a question I did not ask him. The intoxilizer training, they're recertified every 2 years. That's child's play. Every defense attorney worth their salt knows that. That's not what I asked him. I asked him about field sobriety test training, and he's evading the question and answering in a way that looks like he's answering, but he's not at all. And then he's also adding on, oh, by the way, there's nothing that we're mandatory. Nothing is mandatory. Nothing is required of me. Why are you asking me this? That's because he's getting defensive, because they are optional. I'm just trying to highlight he didn't choose to exercise that option. That's all it is. And the fact he's getting defensive, you're already winning, and the jury knows that. Believe me, the jury sees everything.
Okay, let's back up just for a minute. So the training you just mentioned, the training that you redo every 2 years, that only has to do with the intoxilizer machine, correct?
Yes.
That's just how to operate it, make sure that you're certified, you're up to date on all the snuff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Has nothing to do with going on the street and conducting field sobriety tests.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Boom. I just nailed him. I just corrected him. His answer has nothing to do with the question being asked. That's not what I asked you. I asked you about field sobriety, and you didn't do that. Correct? Correct. Moving on.
So, basically, what I'm hearing you say, and please correct me if I'm wrong,
and always give him that option, because I already know the answer. It makes you look so much more humble and down to earth. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But if I understand things correctly, The jury will be glaring at that cop going, is he correct? Tell us. Tell us. Look at the man in the yellow sitting on the jury. He is leaning forward with keen interest, piqued interest. If you rewind the tape and go back to when the prosecutor was asking questions, he was leaning back. He was not interested in the testimony as much. And look at him now. He is leaning forward. He is interested in what is happening.
What I'm hearing you say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have not had any supplemental DUI training since 2007, 2008.
Now I re-asked the same question because he failed to answer it the first time. I corrected him. Now I'm re-asking again. You did not complete any supplemental DUI training on field sobriety tests since 2007, 2008. Yes or no?
No.
No! We finally got the answer we were looking for. Thank you all for joining me for this video. We will continue this in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all tomorrow. The DUI Guy signing off. Thanks, everyone. Bye, everybody.